You can say what you want, but I never been scared. Never been scared. Never been scared.
Welcome to the More Than Sports Podcast, where everyone has a story. On today's episode, we speak with Renell Johnson. Renell is an old teammate of mine from Southwood High School in Shreveport, Louisiana. Renell played the position of cornerback on the football team and earned all-district first team and all-city second team honors during his senior season at Southwood. Today, Renell has an opportunity to speak about his experiences at Southwood, in college, and with multiple coaching staffs. On today's episode, Renell references Proposition 48. Proposition 48 is an NCAA regulation that stipulates minimum high school grades and standardized test scores that student athletes must meet in order to participate in collegiate competition. In 2016, the NCAA amended this proposition that allows now college students to receive athletic aid via a scholarship and have the ability to practice with the team if he or she fails to meet the 10-course requirement, but still will not be able to participate in athletic competition. I hope this helps clear up some of the discussion. Now let's start the conversation. All right. Welcome to the More Than Sports Podcast. I have a very special guest today, Renell Johnson, a.k.a. Renell J, a.k.a. Batman, amongst other names. So welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. Good. Cloudy day down here. But, hey, I'm good to go, man. I'm ready to talk some sports, man. Football, bro.
We'll get into a little bit of everything, man. So just getting started, could you tell me at what age did you start playing sports?
Man, you know, that's crazy because we was talking about this the other day. Man, I've been playing sports so long, I don't even remember. So
Right.
It's probably, I'm going to say I probably started playing flag football probably like 6 years old, 5 or 6. Like I played as soon as they was letting us play, I was playing or whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So why did you start playing? Like, did your parents encourage you to play, or?
My dad.
Okay.
Dad. Like I said, I don't even think I had a choice, man. I think I just was like, being around my dad. My dad had played football, basketball, all of this. So it just was like, you doing what you see people around you doing. So, yeah, my dad, man, we used to sit down and watch football games all day, and it was just natural or whatever.
Okay. So
My
once
dad,
you started playing football, like, did you find any confidence in that? Like, is it just something you kind of gravitated to automatically, or is it something that it took some time for you to kind of feel like that's something you wanted to move on doing?
No, I love football. No, it was one of them things I was, in the crazy this sound, because, man, I was always faster than everybody. Now, that's crazy. They try like I wasn't fast like this. Hey, I was always faster than everybody, and I think I played so much that they be just coming out there learning how to play, but I done already played 2-3 years in the little field or something like that. So I was pretty good. Like straight up, I was always good at playing football. So yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like at what age, maybe it was like 8, 9, that you kind of knew, man, I'm pretty good at this. I'm better than most people I'm playing against.
Now that's good. Because like you say, when I was like 5, 6 first playing, you really don't know how good you're gonna be because you ain't been playing around other people that much. But probably like my first year of tackle, so probably like 8 or 9, I realized like, man, I'm pretty good out here. And then like you can tell when you lined up against people, they trying to like move in the line behind so they won't have to go up against you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm on to something right here. They trying to avoid me or whatever. So probably about 8 or 9, yeah, I realized I was like, oh, I'm real good or whatever.
Right. So was that the only thing that you played when you started playing, was just football, or did you play other things?
No, I played basketball too. That's what my dad wanted me to play basketball. But basketball, one of them things, well, you go up there by yourself and all that, and wherever I was living at or whatever, it's just like more people play football. Like you get a bunch of people who play football. So I gravitated more toward football, but I did play basketball too.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Renell is a 1998 graduate from Southwood High School in the great city of Shreveport. We were on the same football team together. I graduated in '99, but I kind of want to read some information off to you, and I want to get your thoughts. So, Southwood's football record over the past 8 to 9 years is 8-77.
Wow.
That is.
You said over the past how many years?
I think it's 8 to 9. I'm a little off with.
Dang.
I think last year they were 0-6 because they had a reduced season due to COVID. But over the past 8 to 9 years, the football record is 8-77, which is a .0941 winning percentage. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, man, that's I keep up with it. Like I'm still down here in Shreveport, Bossier area, so I hear about it. I keep up with it, and that's crazy that record out there. Like it don't surprise me because I've been hearing how bad they've been over them years. Now it do surprise me that they haven't turned it around yet because that's a long time to be that bad. And the crazy thing is, like we used to laugh at certain schools. I ain't gonna name no school, but if you was to tell me that record back then, who had that, I would definitely wouldn't put Southwood there. I would put so many more schools for I would think Southwood had that record. So, hey, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing, man.
Well, and I was saying the same thing when I was doing some research looking this stuff up, and I thought I had the numbers wrong, so I had to go back like 4 or 5 times and check the numbers. But I guess one of my questions is there anything that could be done to change the culture there? And I'll say that because they just got a new head coach last year for this season. This guy named Dean Smith. He came from Wassam. Now, he was released or let go in Wassam in that last year, and then for whatever reason we decided we brought him in over here. And in his first season, which was this previous season, he went 0-6. So they only played 6 games. They went 0-6. But I guess that's my question. Is there anything that you see, being an alumni, that can be done to change the culture there?
Well, I'm gonna say this, like being that you say they got a new coach now, I noticed that they had a few coaches over the, I even think Coach McClain, our old offensive line coach, had been head coach before.
He's the main reason for some of that record.
Yeah. I didn't play under him position wise, so I really never knew to knock all the good things about him. So I'll let you speak about that. But I think Brian Taylor been coach before?
He was previously before this little span here.
Okay.
I guess based on what
Brian was the coach. So my thing is, I think that they need to you probably definitely need to get a coach that played there, because when you went to a school, you have more pride about what's going on or whatever. So first they got to get a coach that I feel like that maybe got something to do with the Southwood school period. Then you gotta stick with a coach. Like, I mean, I didn't even know high school coaches changed this much. Like they changing coaches like I'm giving them every 3 years. It seems like they changing coaches. So I think the first thing you got to do is get somebody that got pride, maybe an alumni, and then you gotta give them that confidence that you're not gonna get rid of them. Cause I know these coaches ain't quitting. So, and then another thing, like the basketball team actually they've been doing pretty decent. So it ain't that the whole school sports that went down. It's something going on with that football. And man, like now I heard the realignment of the districts might have had something to do with it too. Like they saying that we're not getting the kids we used to get from certain areas, but man, 0-6, you can coach some wins. You can just coach your way into a couple of wins, man. Like
and there's some 0-10 seasons in there. There's some 1-9 seasons in there, 2-8. So yeah, my thing is there's always talent, man. You just gotta find it in the school, and you can maybe not have the most talented team, but if you coach them up, you can squeak out an extra win or two during the season.
I'm gonna tell you something else right quick. I went to a couple of games over that little span. Man, they got like 4-5 jerseys. Like the jerseys look nice. Like nice. So they not like just lost money some kind of way. Like they just. Yeah, I'm always gonna blame the coaching or whatever. Right.
Well, and don't get me wrong. I've not been to any games in years. I guess I need to get out to some myself. But no, there was a little bit more of a sense of pride that I noticed. When we played, man. Like we cared. And, a little bit different as it relates to this generation, man. Win, lose, or draw, man, they could care less, man. They're going to go back and get on social media, do whatever they need to do, man, to kind of hang out and decompress, man. They could care less about kind of the pride aspect of playing the game. So, that's changed a lot. But I do have kind of like a follow-up question. So, do you feel like you have, like, a responsibility to help the school or the program or future players as somebody who played the game and played at a fairly high level, and knowing that there is potentially something that you could give back to the program? Do you feel like there's some type of responsibility there with you, and even other former players that you played with that played at a high level and that could help teach the current and future players at the school?
Yeah, I definitely feel like me and everybody else that went there could do more, and like being around the school, coming to the games, maybe a pep rally, all that type of stuff. But I'm gonna pass the blame game on. I think that, and I was talking to my brother about this, who went to another school, and I was like, the alumni prior to us coming to school, coming to Southwood, they didn't set the foundation to they didn't show us what to do. So it's like we don't know what to do, and so nobody it's no like you're gonna walk around campus and see some alumni walking around, or they not coming to practice, not coming to the game. They didn't do it when I was there. Right. So I don't know to do it either. So it just keep like a cycle of somebody got to change and then say, well, man, we're gonna go support them. Which I didn't been to alumni games, but it just be homecoming or something like that, and we all hanging with each other more than trying to interact with the actual people playing the game, or, the coaches and stuff like that. But that's why I think if alumni came and became the head coach, maybe he can reach out and, okay, we're going to have a day where we're going to bring some ex-football players in through spring training and, talk to y'all and help y'all out. I think Stan Humphries went to our school, probably the most famous person.
Right.
I never saw Stan. I never saw Stan, and even some players that I looked up to, like my freshman year, when they would come in the blue moon, they would come to practice. It kind of do something to you. You kind of that's boy I used to watch play and all that. So I think alumni being around could do more, but nobody started it, and it's we don't know better. So the generation after us, I didn't show them, and the one before we didn't show. So I think it's definitely it will help or whatever. Yeah, I think we all should do better with that.
Yeah. Well, as I'm hearing, so you saying yes, and that maybe a group of you guys can reach out to the current coach and pick a day or two during the week that you guys maybe could come out and show those current players a thing or two. Because to your point, man, I think anybody who been around any kind of sport, not just football, as you see other players that come in and you've seen that they had success, on the local level or even past the local level, you tend to, understand that they've been there, they understand what it takes to be successful. So you're much more willing to listen to them than some coach. Not to say that you're not listening to your coaches, but a coach that maybe not had even played before. Because even now that I'm seeing in some of these high schools and in some of these other places, they have coaches there that never even played the game before. And they're just, maybe just getting some supplemental income and not necessarily looking to, push that player. And then you can identify quickly, somebody who's played, man, you can identify somebody quickly, man, their strengths and weaknesses and what type of positions you need to put them in. And you can pick that up with being out there for a few minutes, and you can kind of understand that, as opposed to somebody who never played before. They're just looking at somebody who maybe just looked the part, but doesn't necessarily have the drive or the talent or the tenacity to play the role. So I think, a lot of people locally can come in and maybe have some of those conversations with the head coaches and things of that nature. And I think as long as everybody's heart is in the right place, I think the coach and, even the administration would be open to that. Because I don't really know what the stipulations are nowadays as it relates to, grown men or women coming on campus nowadays. I don't know if
you don't want to bring us around the volleyball team. And we play football, so yeah, I get what you're saying.
But no, I think as long as, those conversations could be had, man, with administration and the coaching staff, man, I think they would definitely be open to that. At least I would hope they would be open to that. Any type of organization that would have alumni willing to come in and chip in and help out, any organization should be open to that. But we just have to be intentional with the alumni that are in town that are willing to come and help out.
Because to your point, any good schools that I know people went to, you got people that's gonna say, yeah, my cousin played here before me, or now his little uncle playing, not little uncle, but you know what I'm saying,
right.
It's a trickle down effect. Everybody know everybody, so it's at Southwood, if we went up there now, they wouldn't know me from you to.
Nope.
They don't know nothing. So because we never stayed as made it a family or whatever. And most good schools, they have a family atmosphere with their alumni and the current players and older players. And man, they don't. I bet you that we went to a game, like, which I'm not saying we should, but they wouldn't let us on the sideline. Like, they'd be like, man, hold up, who are y'all? Like, but at the good schools, you got people on the sideline. You know, you got people at the practices, but like I say, that pipeline have never started at Southwood like that. So, you know, we can't continue none that started it.
Well, and I think you spoke to that, as you mentioned earlier about the culture. Like early on at a lot of organizations, other schools, and I know specifically when you talk about, like, from the very beginning, they had a culture that, you know, whenever you left, you was going to come back and give. And that was kind of at the heart of some of those organizations, was giving and, you know, pulling up the next man or next woman behind them. So a lot of those other schools, a lot of those other organizations, they had a culture early on that, you know, whenever people left, it wasn't even an afterthought. They were going to come back year after year, and they were going to give. And it didn't have to be like monetarily. They didn't have to give money. They wanted to give their time. They wanted to give, you know, whatever else they had, man, just to kind of help the next person get to where they were. And that's, to your point, something. And don't get me wrong, it may be in other aspects over at the school that I'm unaware of, but as it relates just specifically for football, like that culture wasn't there. And obviously, to your point, man, we can see a drastic drop off as it relates to communicating to the next generation, trying to come up and make their own trail and, you know, get their name out there as far as trying to be a good player on the field. All right, so going into your high school career. So during your high school career, we'll let the listeners know you played cornerback. Yeah. So understanding that, do you feel like you played the right position? Were you in the right role?
Man, that's going back into that culture or whatever. Man, my freshman year, I came from middle school playing receiver, but I played DB at my middle school too. But I came to Southwood trying to play receiver. Just because that's the flashier spot, you know, you catching the touchdowns. Whoop. Now the freshman coaches, I think I remember two of their names, but basically what I'm saying, like, they had no connection with the varsity team. You know, so it's like you just go out there and like, hey, what you trying out for? You put yourself where you gonna play.
Right.
So I came out there trying to play receiver initially, and another thing that Southwood did that I didn't like, if you did good at one position, that's what you played. You weren't coming back to the other position. And I felt like, so I did good at receiver, but then I get over here at DB because I played, you know, we tried out for two positions. Way better than the DBs over here. So that's where I'm at now. But I'm better than the receivers too. But I don't even get to come back over here because, like, they're just going to lock me in over here. And it's like you don't cross play over there. So I came in playing receiver, and, you know, but I love playing DB too, so don't get me wrong. I think I probably liked DB better in the long run, especially at the school we played at. But yeah, I came in trying to play receiver.
Yeah, I think if you would have played receiver, you would have had some issues.
Yeah, I'd have had some hiccups. You know, like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like even like that freshman year, I go out there and you got this one dude, he about 280 pounds. He trying to play running back. You got one of my best friends, Joel trying to play receiver. Now he looked like he a receiver, but you know, they saying he look like a DE and all that. So it's just like we had so many people trying to they just running out there trying to play spots or whatever. Right. And eventually everybody's settling to what they end up playing or whatever. But yeah, I tried to play receiver initially or whatever. Okay. And then the dudes that they pick for receivers after I go over here and make a few plays, I'm just stuck. These dudes don't even go to the next. I don't even think they went to varsity football or whatever. So hey, it is what it is, though.
Yeah. So, yeah. They might not even be in school anymore.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, they was terrible. like man.
All right. But during your senior year, you were first team all district, but the team ended up 4-6. So how did you feel having like individual success, but like at that time
I was all city too, man. Don't forget that all city now. Don't not throw my accolades out there. And look, I was second team all city.
Second team all city.
They played me because they had a dude on there that played running back and DB, and he had no DB stats, but he kind of good at running back, and it's kind of like one of them people that got to put him somewhere, but he don't have good enough stats to play, be on a running back team, so we just throw him in DB over me, and I'm like, come on, bro, like they played me, man.
They played so you should have been first team all district and first team all city.
Definitely,
is what you're saying. But okay, sorry, we got that clarified.
Yeah. Make sure we say that. Yeah.
But no, with you having like individual success and the team not necessarily having success or going to the playoffs, man, like how did you feel about that at the time?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, like, I think when you end the game, well, me, when I used to play the game, like, I always wanted to play good myself first. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like, I can't do nothing about what y'all doing.
Right.
Like, so I gotta do my part first. So my thing was always to have a good game. Mm-hmm. But when you playing the game, you want to win. So I used to want to win, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, we just gonna be honest on here today. I would have a real good game, and to be honest with you, and I knew we was gonna lose. It wasn't as bad when I'm gonna say this. Man, we're just being real.
All right.
If I have a good game and we lose, I'm okay with having a bad game and we win. I'm just being honest with you because I feel like, dang, man, I ain't do my part. Like, I'm personally walking off the field like, man, I was terrible that game. Or, wait till we watch the film on Saturday or Monday. I'm going to look bad, this and that. We won, but you got to look at yourself first. Like, if you do your part, everything else is going to take care of itself. So, I would rather have when we was 4-6 like that, some of the games I just kind of went into, I'm still giving my 110 now, Marvin. Don't get this twisted. But I went into the games just like you, I'm sure, sometimes like, I'm not surprised that we lost. So the games that be the toughest ones is the ones that can go either way. Like when we play man, we gonna call these people names out. I'm gonna call them out. When we play a Woodlawn, I'm assuming we're gonna win. So if we lose that one, that's gonna hurt me or whatever.
That's gonna hurt.
When we playing an Airline, Shreve, Huntington, they can go either way.
Washita,
like the games that can go either way, like that hurts you when you lose them or whatever. But when you playing like a West Monroe or you playing, I hate to say their name, Evangel. You going out there trying to do your best because you know 9 out of 10 y'all gonna lose. But when you in the game, you don't sit up there and think like, oh, I know we gonna lose. You playing. But when the end of the score, when you walk to the bus, you like, man, well, who thought we was gonna win? But it's the culture though. It's the culture. Right. When we was in school, man, you knew that one year you gonna beat Shreve. That next year it used to flip flop. They might beat you. Airline was the same way. Some schools just went 50-50. So, man, having success personally, it was good. But I did want to make the playoffs my last year for sure. I only made the playoffs my sophomore year. So being that I did good like that and we didn't make the playoffs, that last game, like I wasn't one of them players even doing no crying. That just ain't me. Now I was sad when we lost the last game to go to the playoffs to Airline. It wasn't the last game, but it was the game that decided.
Yes,
and we lost a tough one, man. I'm talking about we may have lost like on the last possession or whatever, and that hurt me there because I knew I was like, man, like that was gonna either make us 5-5 or 4-6, and we weren't gonna get in. So that one hurt me there or whatever. So you look at the personal stats after the game, whatever, but you do want to win. So. Hey, but at the end of the day, they gonna remember what you did too.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of how it goes anyway, man. Whether for most players, even if they may not admit it, like if you have a really good game and you lose, you be like, man, I balled out today.
Hey, I did my part. Like, yeah.
So.
And don't let them lie to you and tell you, like, you know how some people be like, man, don't worry about it, we won, man. Why you tripping? Oh, you tripping? Like, you don't trip.
Right, of course. All right. Other question. So, as it relates to just looking at that, so as you kind of move through your career and things like that, do you feel like you were supported by the coaches during your time at Southwood?
Man, no. Man, I'm gonna tell you too. I'm like hopefully young people watch this too. Mm-hmm. Man, when I was in the situation, and the things have changed a lot now.
Right.
Social media, Twitter, you got all this stuff now. We didn't have no social media when I was around.
None of that.
So when I was in the situation, and that's the alumni too, not coming around telling us nothing. So when I'm in the situation, I'm thinking they go one way as far as recruiting and how you go to get your scholarships and all that, and it's a totally different way. I'm thinking you go out there and play, and they almost like just looking at the numbers. Okay, he first team our district, he's second team our district. Let's get these people scholarships first. It don't go like that.
No.
You can be out there running a 4-3. If don't nobody know you, don't nobody know you.
Right.
And it's up to your coaches to put your film out there. It's the coaches' relationship with these colleges. Like they build their little bonds with people. So I wasn't supported at all, man. Like, and I didn't know it, like, because I was just thinking like,
well, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, and you thinking like I done everything. I got a 3.4. I'm doing this. I ain't no bad kid, so I'm good. Like I ain't got to worry about the ACT, none of that. I'm good. So come to find out, toward the end of and then too, our head coach at the time. We ain't gotta say his name. I mean, he was the head coach of Southwood in 1998. So the head coach at the time actually pulled me and Joel Davidson. He pulled me and Joel in the little room one day. And he was like, let me tell y'all how this process go about the recruiting and scholarships and stuff. Okay. He's like, he actually told me that BS I just said or whatever. He said that they gonna go get the first team all district first, this and that, and they gonna come. And I'm like, I'm first team all district, second team all, I'm good. Mm-hmm. So I'm back relaxed. This almost going into this past signing day almost. So I'm like, it looked like they signed like this or whatever. So I ain't been to nobody camp. That's another thing that I didn't know about the camps or whatever. We did nothing. We didn't know about a lot of that stuff. Yeah, so it's like when it come out, they didn't support me at all. Now one coach, Coach Piazza, which was my coordinator, when we went to Northeast to play Watchtower, he brought me around to the people or whatever. They was like over the look because we had a couple of players go to ULM prior to me at my position. That's another thing. If the alumni that was going there had came back and told me how it went, like, hey man, you need to do this, do that. Right. They would have helped too, but we ain't have alumni. So Coach P tried to help me, but at the end of the day, you got the defensive coordinator who was coaching receivers the year before trying to tell y'all about this guy. So it's like, I wasn't supported, and then like I say, at the end of the day, this would hurt me the most. This ain't hurt me, but this would like let me know, like, man, this some dang. Like looking back on, I was like, that was pretty messed up. He sent me and Joel in the room to make our own highlight tape. What? I'm not in video editing. Like, man. And back then it was actually the VCR tape.
It was a VCR tape, right?
Man, this man gave us all the games and brought us out of class for like 4-5 days. We are in there picking out our best plays, time stamping them, and doing them ourselves. First off, we don't know what these people look at when you playing this position, that position. I don't know if they want to see a good tackle, I don't know what they want to see.
Right.
We don't know. Then look, we mailed off our own tapes to these people. What is that? Like, what? We don't know who to address it to. We don't know. This thing going in there and they just throwing them to the side. Like, what is that? So, and I'm gonna tell you, another coach trying to help us was he was a D-line coach. Who was the little short guy? What his name was?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name though.
The little short guy, Coach D-line. He took our
Coach Haddon. It wasn't Coach Haddon.
That was his name.
Okay,
Haddon. Right. Coach Haddon. They. I mean, people feel a certain way about certain people, but Coach Haddon seemed like he didn't get respect amongst the coaches or whatever.
Right.
For whatever reason, I don't know why. Because it seemed like his players that he coached liked him or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Coach Haddon was doing coaching camps. Like, I didn't know they went to different coaches camps to learn stuff themselves. So he took our tape to a coaching camp, And he came back and he was like, man, you know, it's so messed up. He was like, I'm showing y'all tape at the camp with these coaches, and they thinking we playing college football already from our high school tape. Like, that's how good we looked on tape. Wow. But nobody was getting the tape. So me and Joe actually went on unofficial visits by ourselves. Like, Joe, dad, and my dad, and we went to, like, Lafayette. We went somewhere else, and we just shopping ourselves around.
Right.
But at this time, signing period gone.
Right.
So it's like now they trying to make us Prop 48s or whatever, to where you can basically you go through that year. Another thing, the counselor messed over us too. We missing like an English, like Joe missing this, you know. So it's like the Prop 48 was you basically your scholarship on hold, but you got to pass a year of academic work or whatever. So we did that at Lafayette and. Man, it was man. You know, I'm gonna tell you why I sent my tapes to. This is how naive I was. I'm gonna tell you something too. You like if you ain't going to these camps, if you ain't putting yourself out there, probably by like your 7th grade year, 8th grade year, like for sure your 9th grade year, these coaches gotta know who you are. By your senior year, it's really not too many people that just pop on their radar that they ain't been watching.
That they haven't been seeing it, and you have to have some kind of great senior year for that to happen.
Yeah, like just out the blue, you know. So man, I sent my tape. This how naive I was. Like, it's dumb. I sent my tape to Miami University. Man.
Hey, man, why not? Why not? Go.
That's how confident I was, but I don't know the system and all this.
Right.
I sent
but you know, to your point, they're getting thousands of tapes in. So
they getting thousands, and they know these people personally. They didn't met these people. They got recruiters in this area. So it's like, man, and I'm gonna tell you another thing. People they need to get out their head. I was all D1. It had to be D1. So my dad was trying to get me to go to Grambling. He was trying to get me to go to Northwest, and I'm like, man, I'm going to that little school, bro. I'm going to, you know. And Lafayette was terrible. We ended up going to ULL, but yeah, man, I didn't get supported at all. Looking back on it, like, and I'm gonna tell you, they sent me to one like athlete thing. They sent me to the coaches did where it was like a bunch of athletes in the city that had like all seating and all that. We did like a seminar or something, but it was just basically just it wasn't nothing really like that or whatever. But man, them coaches ain't do nothing.
Well, and don't get me wrong, man, it's kind of a similar story during that time frame, man. But it's always just for my benefit. It's always good to hear everybody else's perspective because you'd be surprised how they line up with what everybody else's experiences around that time period.
Oh yeah.
But I do have a question. So do you feel like you would have had a better opportunity to gather more opportunities for scholarships if you would have played for a black head coach?
Most definitely. Because Coach Robinson was actually in there helping this guy. Man, I'm name dropping. I ain't gonna drop his name. He was a cool dude. He in there helping this soccer player that played receiver for us. He helping him get a soccer scholarship. I'm like, what is you focusing on this dude for? You don't coach soccer. Like, so I feel like what they do is, I feel like, too, if you're not one of those people, because we didn't know no better, if you're not hounding them and own them and like almost like calling, hey, did you do what you say you're going to do? Right. They're not going to do it because they don't care as much and they own to the next person. So as a black coach, it seemed like they be more invested into you as a person. So they want to see you do good. Right. I'm not saying they didn't want to see us do good, but they could care either way. You know, like they do good, they don't, you know, whatever. Because I'm gonna tell you what, like you say that they had some coaches at the black schools around here, like they was getting their boys scholarships at least 4-5 of them every year. Yeah. Good school.
Every year.
I'm like, and I'm playing against these people, so I'm knowing what's up.
You know you better than them.
My brother went to another school where they would get they getting 13 people scholarships a year. And I'm out here, they practice with them while he playing. I'm like, I'm betting him. Like, and the coach is cool with my dad. They're like, man, we could have got your boy a scholarship here, there, and there. But so the black coaches definitely seem like if you match the records from back when we was in school, we had better records than most of the black schools around here. But if you want to match scholarships, they always beat us in scholarships. Right. So it got to be something. So,
yeah. No, I think even as you look at it, having conversations and being able to relate to certain players. I mean, not to say that white coaches can't do it and do a good job at it at certain levels, but there has to be some intentionality. They have to want to do it. I think for the most part, the coaches I played with, they'd be, nice to you. But as far as that extra step of getting to actually know you as a player, as a person, as a young man, trying to figure things out, trying to figure out some stuff maybe potentially about your childhood, about, your current home life, trying to put you in good, positions to be successful. I didn't see that. Because I actually had a coach, and this was like during like my senior year, he was trying to recruit me to come over to Huntington. And I was like, man, I'm not leaving. But,
that's me, dumb.
That's me. Right. But then, as I look up as that season ended, I'm looking at all these people on this team getting scholarships, and, we sitting here looking at the coach like, all right, like, are you going to help me? Are you going to talk for me or anything? So I think it was just education and knowledge was a big issue with us during that time, man, because we just, like I say, man, kind of, let's go back to like work, man, like you perish because of the lack of knowledge. Like we just didn't have the knowledge in reference to what we needed to do to move the ball forward for ourselves. And not to even say that we could, necessarily look towards our parents, because they didn't have that knowledge either, since they, for the most part, our parents didn't play high school athletics either. So you kind of stuck between two places. So as it relates to trying to find a coach that's going to really advocate for you, you got to be mindful and intentional about that. And then at that age, man, we just going wherever the bus was taking us to go to district. Like we just playing there and not necessarily understanding that we had some potential for mobility and things of that nature to go to have some different options. But no, I mean, it's just tough all the way around. So, but you had mentioned earlier, like you were just kind of focused on D1. So it was there ever even a conversation with anybody about going to a D2 school? I know you said your dad was kind of pushing you there, but were there any of the coaches or anything like that trying to push any of the D2 schools?
Well, yeah, the guy from Northwestern was, whoever he was, I don't even remember now. The guy at Northwestern was trying to get me to go down there bad. And and like I say, my knowledge was coming from TV and stuff like that. And it just seemed like they always put out, and even today a little bit, more football than basketball. D1 has better players. If you D2, you're not as good or whatever. So I was like, I'm not going no D1. Like, and the crazy thing is, we all know now it's about where you go, opposed to like the D1 or not. Like if you're going to D1 and sitting on the bench, like it don't matter. Like look how many 5-star running backs at LSU that don't play. So yeah, Northwestern was trying to get me bad. They had a couple of schools on the East Coast really trying to get me full scholarships, but I didn't really know them like that because they were D2, and I was thinking like, I'm not going way up there playing no D2 football or whatever. But
so hold on, so you had a full ride potentially to Northwestern, and you had a couple of schools on the East Coast that was offering you full rides.
Yeah.
And
if it didn't say D1 in front of their name, it was a wrap. I wasn't even like thinking about it. And then too, like you say, my dad had even like somebody reached out to him to like put me into a recruiting database. Like they was gonna like put my name out there and like do the recruiting for me or whatever, or put me out there. And I was like, that sounded pretty good, but it was kind of expensive.
Right.
So I forgot what happened, but we didn't go that route. And then when the other school was coming from the East Coast, like one was in like Boston. We from Shreveport, Louisiana. Like I was like, now if it would have been, a school I knew, that would have been different. But yeah, full ride. That's another thing. I didn't really like. I was so like confident in I got overlooked versus that's where I should be. That I was like, I just need to get on the field. Like, I'm not worried about how I get on the. If I'm prop 48 or whatever, like once I get on the field, I'll be good. Right. So that's why I wasn't really sure about the D2 either. I didn't feel like I was D2 talent.
Yeah, you're just gonna you don't let your game speak for itself.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it speak for myself. Right. It's a little different in college too. A little different.
So you ended up, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong. So you ended up settling on going to Lafayette to ULL.
Yeah, me and Joe go to me and one of the classmates go. We roommates, we boys. We gonna go together. You kind of want to go with somebody you know too. We go together, whatever.
So can you tell me a little bit about that experience? Like, how was it? Like, did you kind of communicate with the coaches you were coming down, or?
Check this out. So we go down there, at this point, I'm not sure what Joe gonna play, cause Joe played tight end, but I'm trying to see why he was. So I go down there. We talk to the defensive backs coach first. That's who I remember talking to. And he like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get y'all all on this prop 4-8. Y'all gonna be good, this and that. We good. He like us. We bring him a tape in hand because obviously he don't know what a tape is. So he loving us. He like, yeah, I'm thinking maybe Joel playing DB at this time, but I'm not sure or whatever because he didn't end up playing it. So he like, y'all report on this day. That's another thing. No alumni. Nobody know nothing but us. We don't know nothing. We come down there. We on campus. We don't even know we supposed to be. Missed the first day. It's
like August, early August, or like the beginning of your
before school start.
Okay,
right before tour days start.
Before tour days, okay.
So we missed the first day of tour days because I don't want to say the word wrong, but somebody forgot to tell us that this coach didn't quit. He didn't went into real estate. So he's supposed to contact us and let us know when we supposed to come out here, but he didn't left. This how bad Lafayette was at the time. He left. Nobody go into his, I guess, Rolodex and see who he was supposed to be dealing with. So we on campus, and we just like, man, it seemed like it should be football time, because we're not in the football dorm because we prop 4-8, so we don't know. Mm-hmm. So I forgot who we bump into or something, and somebody's like, yeah, they started yesterday. So, bro, and Lafayette is like a real big campus, like people don't really know, but it's like 20,000 people. So you got to ride shuttles to get to different places or whatever.
Right.
So, man, we come out there the next day, and they like, oh, okay, y'all was recruited under such and such. So I meet the new coach. Joel ended up playing Joel was ahead of his time, too. So Joel ended up playing how these tight ends play now. I think it was going to be like an H-back.
Like an H-back, okay.
He like a fullback tight end, but he split out sometime. So Joel on his side, I'm over here with this new guy that I never met. Another thing, if they didn't recruit you,
right, it's
kind of like how the NFL do, like they want their own people or whatever initially. So we out there, conditioning is terrible.
Terrible.
Yes.
Yes. Now you're in August, South Louisiana, which is different than North Louisiana. If people don't understand, like it's a different humidity down there.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, like the first day was like, man, the first day was like it's so different than like Southwood being a middle high school up here to going to a D1 school. You got to go in there and you got to get your equipment signed out by the equipment guy. Right. And if you remember me from Southwood, I didn't care what you gave me to wear. I just needed all the stuff I needed. I didn't need to be taped up. I didn't need to have the gloves with the check mark. I didn't need none of that. Just give me my stuff. So, man, I'm down there, and I remember the equipment manager was finna hand me these shoes. Man, they all white. So I could care less what he give me, as long as it's my size 12. So the little dude that was with me, he was like, man, don't give my boy them ugly shoes. Like, no, give him this and that. So I'm like, all right. So I get all my equipment. We go out there for conditioning. Man, conditioning seemed like it lasts an hour. Like, when I don't say conditioning, it wasn't conditioning. It was warm-ups. Man, it seemed like we did like 20 or 100s. It seemed like we did like 15, 50s. And I'm like, this all before we start practice.
Before practice, right.
I'm wore out, man, because we've been walking around campus for like a week just chilling. So, man, conditioning was they let me know, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm out of shape. And you start second guessing yourself. I was like, I don't know if I'm out of shape. Right. Oh, this ain't for me, bro. These dudes ain't tired of nothing. I'm like, then look, you got to run like these hundreds in a certain time.
Well, but even to that point though, and none of us even knew that, all those guys had probably been there the whole summer. They've
been there, they've been down there for I'm walking straight out there.
Right.
They've been out there a month almost. So they didn't went through this part that I'm going through where I'm tired.
Right.
So I'm realizing this or whatever. Now I'm still confident or whatever. I'm sizing everybody up like, okay, this and that. So, man, that first day of practice, another thing I learned about college football. You got some players down there that this the levels you got. The new bright-eyed people like me, thinking they going to the league, excited to be down here. You got the players that feel like oh, it's my time to finally get on the field. I'm finna shine. I'm dedicated. Then you got these players that just out there because they on scholarship. They could care less. They not trying to get in no drill. They not going hard. They just fulfilling their obligation because they on scholarship. So you got to kind of like, you got to hang with who you hang with, because another thing I had to learn, like, the dudes that, and that's big, I'm big on that too, that negative energy. The dudes that could care less, they always gravitate toward the freshman or whatever.
Right.
So I'm sitting in the weight room, and this guy like, man, you ain't got to put that much on, bro. Just when he walk by, just do something, and he turns his head, bro, you can chill. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to, like, play. I'm going to tell you something else. On the football field, the drills, these guys, once it's over with and we doing 7-on-7 or 1-on-1s, these guys go to the end of the line. They not trying to get in.
Yep,
they might be over there asleep. Like, so it was a wake-up call to me, because I felt like I was back being the last man on the totem pole.
Right.
And you come from being like the man at your high school.
The guy, right.
Nobody. You know, like, so that first day of practice was like, there was an eye opener there or whatever. And you seeing some athletes now, like, hey, you seeing, and you reading these people's stats, and it's like, man, this man say he had 1,700 yards rushing. This man had 1,800 yards receiving. I'm like, they terrible. Some of them was terrible. I'm gonna tell you that, because they coming from Class A, you know.
Class A,
they
right.
had coaches though helping them out. So that first day was a trip to me, man.
So, like, how long were you at ULM? Like, how did that work out? And, you know, as far as like you getting started and then, you know, eventually leaving the program.
I was there a year.
Okay.
So being young again, I'm out there like with the football, and Joe probably tell this story. You ever get him on here one day? So I'm out with the football. I'm out here killing. Like, I'm finally like, I'm letting all them. You want to sit over there and not do nothing? I'm going 3-4 times. So I'm in there, and I remember the first day the coach was like, we doing our little tackling drill. You know I can tackle. So we doing tackling drill, and the coach like, man, who was that? You know, we had to write our name tag on our helmet, like Johnson. Right. So I'm like, yeah. So he like, man, y'all got the 18-year-old out here showing y'all how to tackle. Next time we get out there for these drills. That's another thing about that high school I learned. They didn't teach me nothing. I'm telling you, Marvin. And that's
I will agree with that. Like, I didn't learn how to play until I got to college. Like, what we were doing, like, they didn't teach us as much.
Whatever you did at Southwood, you learned on your own. You might have learned A gap, B gap, C gap, but as far as technique and all that, I realized, man, we played cover 3. Like, that's it. I didn't learn no man technique. I learned man from watching TV. Charles Woodson, I learned all that on my own or whatever, and it wasn't all the way right. I just know. So
what you can see.
That first day, man, them techniques we was doing, I was like, man, I didn't learn more this first day than I learned my whole high school career, and I felt cheated. I was like, man, like, but I'm soaking it up, because I'm like, this one dude, like these seniors, like, they really teaching me whatever. So the first drill we do man to man. That's kind of like, that was my thing or whatever, but it's simple or whatever. So, man, I bumped this one dude, like, I bumped him all the way out of bounds. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm finna be the man out here. You know, they own me. So that's when I got the news that I needed another class that they say I didn't have. Now, I'm thinking as long as you graduate and you got your grade point average, you good, but you got to have certain classes.
Certain classes, right.
So coach was like, they pulled me outside of practice, and he was like, I'm thinking he's like, man, you doing good out there. Like, you know, I'm liking what I'm seeing this nigga. He didn't recruit me. He replacing the guy. So, I'm thinking he finna give me this speech like I'm finna be the starter or something. So, man, I'm in the office. I'm like, yeah, you know, I came from Southwood, you know, this and that. And he's like, yeah, man, I like your upside. He's like, but you can't come out here tomorrow. So I'm like, what? He was like, you know, we're gonna make all the props. You couldn't even practice after a certain point for whatever. Right. I forget the rule, but you can't even practice. So now I'm with all these other props and people that's whatever academically and eligible for whatever their reason is. Mm-hmm. We got our whole separate time that we got to come do conditioning and work out. You still with the team, but you over here, you basically with the strength and conditioning coach most of the time. Right. And you just doing your thing.
You outcast.
You out. Oh, they see you. Yeah, you in the locker room and stuff. Yeah. They know you, but and a lot of times too, it be people that most time they didn't got in trouble or whatever. Then you got your few props. So you got a lot of different bags in there too. So I'm over here with this. Joe think it's funny, you know what I'm saying? Like, he like, oh, they got you over there with the props. Because they do make fun of you sometimes. And all you do is work out, train, and run. So I'm getting in all kind of
Great
shape.
Right.
I look up 2 months later, who down there with me? Joe. And Joe ended up getting the class he didn't have. So basically that first year, I'm doing real good on the football field. I'm like, oh yeah, I just got to stay in this system because, man, these dudes 5'9", they wasn't that good to me or whatever.
Right.
I knew the talent was gonna be always there or whatever, so I'm good. Look up, me and Joe, young, staying up 4, 5 in the morning playing Madden, sleeping all day, ain't going to class.
Not going to class.
Not knowing that they don't care if you don't come to class in college. Some teachers don't, and then some teachers, they will call you and say, hey, well, Lafayette, they had an automated system. Hey, you missed 7 days. If you get to 10, you automatically flunk the class. So I'm getting up going back. I'm going to that one now. Some of them act like they don't have a rule in place, but you missing class or whatever. So basically, like, man, we didn't have that college. We didn't have the discipline to get up and go to class and do what we supposed to do. But guess what? Was on time for football practice every day. First one there. So my grades was so bad that first year that I had to do I had to sit out a semester.
Okay.
Another thing happened to me too while I left. I don't say why I left, but
so that would have been like the fall of your sophomore year.
It was gonna be going into that. So that summer of my freshman year, I had to either take 6 hours and get academically right or sit out the semester, which I didn't even know about the 6 hours too. It was too late. So the coaches, like, they got study hall. They got everything for you.
They got everything you need.
I ain't going none of that. I'm talking about, like, and then I'm not even no bad student. I'm just not going to class realizing that they just gonna give you work. You got to do all that. They're not gonna tell you what to do most of these classes. I mean, I was in a class one with like 400 people. She talked on like a microphone. So all this was so new, like,
right.
I wasn't ready for the part that, like, you can go to I feel like you can go to high school as long as you go to school every day. You gonna pass.
You can pass,
like,
yeah.
So that was a wake up call. So that this one practice I'm lined up because I'm jumping out there every time. I'm lined up. I'm in my little stands, bumping, run. The coach was like, who is that? So I'm like, oh, okay, he don't know who I am now. Now, matter of fact, it's Joel or whatever I'm lined up against. I'm getting all the work because I know once I'm out there, they're gonna see me. He was like, who is that? So I'm like, I look back, Johnson, and he was like, Johnson. He's like, he might have said I was a prop or something. He's like, prop body. He's like, get your out of there and let somebody get in that's gonna play. Man, hey, in front of the whole thing, whatever. And bro, you gotta know, I went from, everybody used to make it like I was Coach P's favorite child and all this, to this man telling me to get out of the practice because I'm not playing this week. Well, technically, I get it.
It makes sense.
Play.
Right, get the rep.
But they don't want to get in. So that day there, man, I shot out the door. I mean, I went to the locker room after it was over. I knew Joe was waiting on me. So I shot out before Joe. I come home. I call my dad. I say, man, I'm transferring. I'm going to go to Northwestern. Like, I'm out, bro. Like, this dude disrespecting me. Like, so, he was a jerk, man, this coach. So I said I was going to leave after that first year. I had the bad grades. This coach, he ended up leaving too, obviously. He left. They had a lot of turnaround there. And I was like, man, I'm going to get a fresh start and go to another school. But I liked Lafayette or whatever.
Right.
And we was terrible. Like, we would used to be ranked like 114 in the nation out of 118. They was real bad back then. They didn't turn it all the way around. So I left really, though, because that first year, I set out that summer. I was going to go back. Then my mama passed away. Okay. So it was just like it was a bad little time or whatever, and I didn't even go right back, period. So that's what happened, like, the grades, and then my mama passed, and I just never went back.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting, man. So, like, when you were there, like, why do you think there was such a disconnect with you? Well, I guess with most college students coming in, especially athletes that's coming in and going to class. Is that something that's just we don't know? Our parents didn't teach us. Our coaches didn't teach us. Some of it just had to do with self-discipline. And I just even relate to myself, man. Like, when you putting together your own schedule, because you have the ability to put your own schedule together. And, you know, I'm sitting here.
It's the best time for you.
Yeah, scheduling 8 o'clock classes, knowing I ain't going to be at 8 o'clock class. And then, you know, even having to drop classes and things of that nature, like, you really have to grow up, like, really quick. If not, like you said, man, you'll be out the door. So I guess I'm a little curious on, like, what you think, like, you could have done differently, how yourself or maybe a coach or a parent could have helped you prepare differently for what the expectations were in college. But I guess that's the thing, like, even looking at just our community in general, like, if we don't have a lot of people who've already been to college and came back and told us and put us up on game as it relates to, like, all right, well, listen, like, you need to do X, you need to do Y, you need to do Z, or you're going to be out the door. Like, if you don't have people coming back and telling you that you're going to listen to, like, I don't see how you can necessarily be successful unless you just get in there and you struggle a little bit, then you kind of figure it out. Because I know a lot of people, their motivation is like, man, I'm just not going back home. So they're going to kind of figure it out on their end. But, like, is there anything, like, you feel like any one person or any multiple people could have said to you to kind of help prepare you better for that transition?
Yeah, I'm like, it go back to that coaching, like you say, the black coach, would he do more for you than other coaches? Mm-hmm. I think that if I would have had a coach that rolled me, like, checking on me day to day, this and that,
right,
that would you can't escape that or whatever. Because I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. I don't say I wanted to, because I did. I was willing to do it.
You was willing,
but I didn't have nobody checking on me like that. Mm-hmm. And then your parents, they can only do so much, because now these teachers ain't calling your parents, telling them about your grades.
No.
Like, you're not getting no report cards sent home.
Hey,
so
they already got your money for that semester. So.
Yeah, so I think, and I'm gonna say this too, with the athletes, it is easier because you do have study hall set up. We have built-in study hall, like, to where we had to come to study hall. But I'm gonna tell you too, I eased through the cracks of that because I was a prop. So they weren't really checking for me like that. I knew to be at study hall from 5 to 8 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if I didn't come, they might ask me once or twice, like, you went to study hall? But they worry about these boys on the field at this time. They ain't really just, like, they ain't checking for me like that. Mm-hmm. So I think you definitely got to have a coach or a mentor around you. Even if it's an older student that went before you that's down there with you, they help a lot to let you know, because it happens so fast. Before you know it, you got a 1.8. And you're like, man, I go talk to the teacher? No, you can't talk to that teacher. Like, it's a wrap.
It's done.
At these big schools.
Right.
It was different when I went to Grambling. You could talk to the teacher. But, yeah, man, I think it would, if I'd have had, like, a coach, you got to understand, the same thing. He had to recruit me because he got to care now. You got to, yeah. Well,
because at that point, his job on the line. So.
His job on the line, and he want to see you do good, yeah.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something else. I think that if you're not playing sports, I think this is good for you to do. You could have never got me to do this back then. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes going to a JUCO in your city that you live to learn how to do the college work, maybe for that first year, or them 2 years for your transfer, they help you because their college work different.
Yeah.
You know, but the whole discipline, like, yeah, I think better discipline too. You got to be disciplined because they tell you to schedule these. Now with football, you got to schedule a certain way, so they make my schedule for me.
Right.
But yeah, scheduling them 8 o'clock classes, and you know you like to stay up late, or it's just hard to do or whatever. Like, but then you will see somebody that got all that's taking 12 hours, got a job and all that. So
right,
it just it's discipline because I came to practice on time. Mm-hmm. So
well, I think that was the priority. I don't think for most athletes, school is never the priority.
Until you think you finna graduate, you're like, well, hold up, man, I don't even have nothing to, you know. So yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, they just want you eligible. They don't care what you taking. They don't care about. They just want you eligible. Like, man, just take a gym, you know, whatever.
Take this bowling class, right?
Yeah, take that. Just get you eligible, and they'll even tell you the teachers to take. And 9 times out of 10, them teachers that they telling you to take, they don't care about you passing. And I mean, I care about you passing. They don't really care about you. So
yeah, they don't care about you learning.
They don't care about you learning. So they handicapping you anyway. So yeah, take her. She don't care. I want somebody that kill, you know. So it just came to you fast down there, and that first year is like they'll tell you, like, look to your left, look to your right. These gonna be the people you ain't gonna see next year, and it be true.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah.
So when was it that you kind of understood or came to grips that like your playing career was over? Like, did you move on? Like you said, you kind of took some time off, and then you said you kind of went over to Grambling. Was your goal to try to play at Grambling, or? Was
only reason I went to Grambling.
Okay, that was the only reason.
Only
All right.
reason. So when I left Lafayette, I sat out that summer. Like I said, my mama passed away, so I sat out and I was like, man, I gotta, get back on my feet, this and that. So I'm like, still at this time, still got this athlete mindset of I'll just go to Grambling and wreck it. Like they'll
Okay.
the another stereotype that Dion trying to change. The HBCUs don't have talent either. Like it ain't good. Well, they didn't put more athletes out there than a lot of these schools.
Right.
So I was like, man, I just go to Grambling. It's down the street. At this time, I'd never been to Grambling. I don't know how small this city is. I don't know nothing about Grambling except the band. And they got a lot of players who went to the league. Right. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Grambling.
And so you're making this shift from Lafayette, which was, obviously a nice sized city, to those who don't know, Grambling, which is, if you blink.
You can drive Grambling like a circle. You could drive around Grambling in a circle.
Right.
And I went from 20,000 people on campus to, I think we had maybe 4,500, maybe 5,000 my first semester at Grambling. So I'm like, the facilities. Man, that was a big change. So I go down there and I'm talking to the now I don't know that a few of my Southwood buddies down here, like Michael Young down here, who was like our star running back in school. I didn't even know he was down there. So I'm just going for myself. So I'm going down there and I'm going to talk to I didn't know this part of the game. For me to go from Lafayette to Grambling, I have to get officially released from Lafayette.
Yep.
So I'm like, officially released? Why they care? I ain't down there no more, whatever the case may be. So I'm down here talking to this person that deals with this on Grambling campus. I'm like, man, I'm gonna play football down here. I go meet with the coach or whatever. I think it was Spears at this time. I met with him. And he just like, hey, he asking me these general questions like, can you play, man? What school you went to, this and that? Like, yeah, man, you come out there, this and that. Make sure you get your paperwork right before you come out here. So I'm like, whatever. Just let me on the field. That's what I'm thinking. Right. So I'm dealing with this guy every day. I'm like, hey, did they release me? He like, no, they ain't sent the stuff over yet, this and that. I'm like, oh, they dragging their feet, whatever. Man, these people would never release me officially. I'm nobody down there.
Like, did you try to reach out to Lafayette, ULL at all?
I'm reaching out to Lafayette myself. Now I'm starting to look sideways, like, how we try to say about each other. I'm like, it's something he ain't doing. Like how they won't release me, man? So he trying to make it like that the people down there won't get back to him. And I'm like, they just let me play. Like, they won't even know I went to Lafayette. That's what I'm thinking, but it don't go like that.
It don't,
they can get in trouble, I guess. I don't know what the case may be.
They get fined,
so,
right.
That happened that whole first semester down there. Like, wow. They would not release me, so I couldn't go out there. So in my mind, everybody know why I came down there. Because now they met up with my boys from Grambling, I'm from Shreveport. So they like, oh, you down here play football, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. So I'm trying to get Mike to talk to the coaches, and he like, what can he do really? You know what I'm saying? So he like, yeah, but he telling me like, yeah, you can come out here and you be playing and all that or whatever. But I know in the back of my mind, like, it's starting to, because I know it's a clock too. Like, I think once you start playing college football,
it is.
You got so long or whatever. They call it when your clock start. So probably like, man, a year into, I'm going to say that second semester in the Grambling, I'm like, bro, I'm not going to play. Like, because I'm thinking my clock gone, because I'm thinking it start from
like when you first
year.
step.
I don't know if you get 4 years back then. I don't know, but I'm knowing now, like, I'm not going to play. And I'm going to tell you, like, and I'm walking around. I'm going to the games because Mike playing. I'm like, bro, I'm betting all these dudes out here. In my mind, I might not have been. I don't know. But I'm like, I just needed to play. But that's another thing I tell people, like, that's the easy part on the field. You got to do your grades. You got to not get in trouble. You got to do this, do that, and do that. If you can stay on the field for 4 years and you decent, you got a chance or whatever. But it's the other stuff that they don't tell you about that you got to, like, figure out or whatever. So now I'm just like, so I probably realized that if I went to Lafayette 18, 19, probably about 20, 21, I was like, man, it's over. I was like, man, my last time playing on the football field is going to be in practice at Lafayette or whatever. And then, you coming home and people thinking you were so good. I'm going to tell you something, too. you was never as good as you. First off, we always think we better than we was, and
Most people, right?
man, you gotta think like when I was in Lafayette, it's boys from the whole state that was the man at their school or whatever. So now we all together though. Now what I did realize was it's about who you know, because I felt like a lot of these people that had all these accolades, I was way better than. But then you would see some dudes down there that you like, this dude would have been a tough matchup. Like this dude, like they got some people around here, so. But it's all the system. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of them guys too, they never made it because they had attitude. They would get kicked off the team, this and that.
Right.
Like it's. I realized that I was gonna stop playing though, probably about a year into Grambling. And I was like, man, you know what? Now the crazy thing about it, I always and I thought about like trying out for the little teams that would be semi-pro and stuff like that. But I didn't have that hard of a time technically letting it go. In my mind, football was always there, but me playing, I was realistic. Like, man, you didn't get released. You 21, 22 now. You not playing. Like, it's not finna be a Rudy story. Like, so probably that first year in Grambling or whatever. And I actually liked the school, so it wasn't as bad. Like, I started realizing, like, that's why I did come. But I was like, man, and I look back on it, I was like, man, I should have came here from the jump, because the support of just being at them schools is so much better than some of the other schools. But then I wasn't this full ride scholarship guy either, so they might have treated me different. I don't know.
Right. Well, and I think maybe that spoke to what you were saying, and just in reference to like having a big school versus a small school. Like I said, Grambling, who knows what their numbers were coming in, as opposed to a ULL. They probably had twice of, maybe not 3 times as many of the people that was either there or trying to play. So it's a lot that those coaches got to dig through. And then, like I said, just being able to relate to other black players, it's probably just a totally different scenario when you're working with those coaches at Grambling as opposed to ULL. So they had a little bit more, invested in trying to see people's success. And don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, all those coaches' jobs on the line, so they're trying to put the best product out there, the best player out there. But as it relates to trying to, find out a little bit more about the player and their story, I think, sometimes, not all the times, a lot of those black coaches do a little bit better job, man, of trying to dig a little deeper to find out what's going on behind the scenes with the player. All right. Another question. So, how has sports made you a better person?
A better person. Well, I always tell people, like, I think that's where you get most of your long-lasting relationships from.
Okay.
Like your friendships. Like, if you think about it, if you friends with somebody outside of your family, you probably play sports with them or whatever. If you play sports. Mm-hmm. Them, like most of my friends, we all play sports together. So I think in the teamwork, like you learn stuff like that, and it sounds so cliche, teamwork, but you can be in practice and it's like, if you don't do your job or he don't do what he's supposed to do and the other person don't do that, everybody, the whole thing failed or whatever. So I think it teaches you teamwork. It definitely teach you how to get along with different people that you would have never messed with before.
Right.
Like, like Southwood, I was telling my brother this other day, I know I would have never talked to half them people that I had to talk to on the football team. Like I wouldn't have walked by and talked to the boy that had the 4x4 truck with the rubber flag on it. Like, he just wouldn't have talked.
No, right.
But on the football field, I got to know him, and he cool. And he got to know me, and we like, man, we actually cool or whatever. So I think getting around different cultures and different beliefs and all that, when you play sports, you learn to interact with people like that. That's a good thing, too. And just, I think it definitely gets you in shape. So it's going to teach you some kind of physical conditioning too. Now, whether you keep it up or lose or whatever, but it teaches you stuff like that or whatever. So I think the biggest thing you learn from playing sports though is probably just learning to get along with other people that don't believe in certain things you believe and don't come from the same background as you. And that's what the NFL players say too. Like, they in the locker room with people that they never would have talked to before, but they become best friends, whatever. So that's probably the biggest thing. Getting to know people that you wouldn't really get to know like that.
Okay, cool, good deal. And I see you listen, and correct me if I'm wrong. You listen to a motivational speaker by the name of Inky Johnson.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like what about him? Because I listened to him also, so it was kind of cool that you were listening to him too. So what kind of resonates with you, about his message and how he communicates to different people?
Man, sometimes stuff just hits you when it hits you or whatever, and he just seemed like he one of them people that I think the biggest message I ever got from Inky was overall it seemed like that his message is no matter what you going through, you just got to move forward from it. Like you can cry about it for a day or a week or 2 weeks, and he'd be like, okay, now what you gonna do about it? So. Right. And then, we know Inky, something happened with his arm or whatever, so he got his arm not like they not functioning right or whatever the case may be. And he just like, he deal with it, right. So I think Inky, when you watch his speeches, it kind of let you know, like, no matter what you going through, how bad it get, you just gotta do something about it. Cause like, I heard this little one thing, I don't know if he said it, but they was like, half the people don't want to hear the problems. Other people don't care, and it's another little segment. Glad you got them. So it's like, so it's like, man, you just gotta like. I think he one of those people that I had started listening to when I wake up in the morning and I don't feel like doing something or like I'm having a bad day, and he'll give you that motivation. Like, man, you just gotta go out there and do it.
Right. So yeah, and I think that's kind of the same way with sports, and that was kind of part of Inky's deal. He ended up getting his arm and I think his shoulder paralyzed playing sports. But no, even as we talk, man, like no matter what happens on the field or the court or, whatever scenario, man, you got to figure out how to move forward, man. Like, forget that play, move on to the next one. And I think that's a good scenario for life also, because, as we all transition from playing sports, and some of us still are, like life going to keep going on. So it's going to be stuff you're going to have to deal with. There's going to be challenges you're going to have to deal with, and you got to figure out how to move forward. And I think, like I say, playing sports has helped me, and I know a lot of people I've spoken to, they can kind of go back to when they were playing and be like, all right, well, I pushed through this situation, or these 2 days, and you kind of always go back to that as a reminder that you can push through any situation that you have in life because of those situations that you were put through playing sports.
I'm gonna tell you a little quick story before you get off this. When you say push through, I don't know if you was there. Yeah, it was my junior year. Oh man. Look, real fast. So we playing Marshall. and a lot of people like talk about when they did something bad or whatever. So we playing Marshall. They rank like number 13 in the nation. And so they killing us. It's like they end up beating us like 55-3. So this your sophomore year. Did you travel that game?
I do remember that game.
Check this out. This about like when you doing good and y'all
I say that because I think the next year we lost 55-0. So.
Yeah, so it's like, and this one of them games where I'm like, dang, we getting killed. Like, and I'm like, man, but I ain't really did bad. Like, ain't nothing happened to me or whatever. Oh man, like, this one play happened. They got this dude on their team now. He like 6'4", 220 pounds. He ended up, I had to look him up. He ended up going to Texas or whatever, playing receiver. So I'm 5'11", 185, I ain't no little dude, but this dude's 6'4" and this and that. And I'm definitely don't care about that. Because I ain't never got done like this before. So they go deep on me or whatever. It almost seemed like they was like, man, we ain't got him yet. Because this other cornerback that got scored on like 3 times. The safety that got scored on. They got 55 points. I haven't got scored on, so I'm thinking to myself like, oh, they know what's up on this side. So, man, they throw the ball deep. I see the ball. I'm like, finna go get it at its highest point. I could jump pretty high in my mind at this time. So I go get the highest point. I do not see this dude. It's like it's underthrown or whatever. I jump up to get the ball. And, Mike and them, all the other boys say, it look like take my ball in my hands like this. And this man jumped over me and scooping on me. And he scored.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just scoop it on me. We went in the end zone. He scooping and he ran in. I didn't even see him, though. So, now I'm going to tell you, it was like, that's like that motivation that you just got to get up. I had never got done like that before. Right. So, this the Friday night. And we had to watch film. We always watch film Monday. I did not come to school Monday. I said no. I forgot what I told my mom when I was like, I'm sick. I'm not going because you're not going to clown me. Because our coach used to, they going to slow
Right.
Game.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They going to clown you. And so I didn't come to school. And then I remember, like, they still talk about it to this day or whatever. But once I kind of got over it, that's when you learn in football and just in life, like, man, stuff happened. You can't do nothing about it. You just got to move forward. And I end up, and then next year we played Marshall. I got an interception. I was like, So it's like, yeah, man, like, you just got to, like, you learn in sports, like, man, you got to go on to the next play.
Right.
Go on to the next thing in life. Like, you can't do nothing about it.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, tell me about Universal Citizens.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Universal Citizens is a podcast. It's with me, my brother, and one of our good friends, Tristan Ross or whatever. And we come out with it weekly or whatever. And it started over the pandemic. We always do these group text messages. And I'm pretty sure everybody got their group messages or whatever. And we would always just talk about everything from politics to sports to whatever was on our mind, anything going on social media, something like that. So he's like, man, we ought to do a podcast, because podcast was kind of like popping up around that time. And one of my favorite podcasts is Joe Budden podcast. Like, they just sit around and they just talking, and it's cool to see different people's perspectives on different subjects or whatever. So we started it I think we probably started in September last year. And we've been going, like, this going to be our second season we on now. And it's just a podcast where we pretty much, now we just start calling like the pot of gumbo. We just talking about different, anything could pop up or whatever. So, yeah, check it out. It's on YouTube, Universal Citizens. And, Marvin, maybe we can put the link in at the end or somewhere.
Yeah. We'll definitely add the link in the bio on all the platforms.
It's a cool podcast, though, just 3 different perspectives. We dang sure got 3 different perspectives or whatever. So it's just a good little show to just something fun to watch.
All right. Well, cool. All right. Well, I got a couple quick fire things for you, man, before we get you out of here.
Oh.
All right. So, top athlete of all time.
My favorite, or just who I think top?
Whoever you think is the top, not your favorite,
Deion,
but who
Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders.
Top athlete, Deion Sanders. All right. Top team of all time.
This will surprise some people. Houston Oilers.
Really?
Warren Moon was like my guy growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
All right. Toughest person you ever played against?
Renell Robinson from Fair Park.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Renell Robinson. Dude was so strong, man. Then was fast. Yeah, Renell Robinson.
All right. All right. If you didn't play football, what other sport would you have played?
Basketball.
All right. And Popeye's chicken or Southern Classic?
Man, come on. Man, if you're not from Shreveport, Bossier, you wouldn't understand, but Southern Classic, hands down. Hands down. Hands down.
All right, good deal. All right, appreciate that time, man. But I do have one more question, man. Who would you like to see next on the podcast?
I thought about this the other day, and
I mean, you can name a few people if you got. If you only just got one.
These just local people that I always wondered what happened to them, and even like what they did in their sports career, because I wasn't around. Like, I definitely want to know about my boy Quayshawn.
Okay.
Because Quayshawn was one of them people Quayshawn Nichols. Quayshawn was like a basketball player at Southwood that came in with all the hype. He was playing his freshman year. They hyped him up, and I just wondered like what happened or whatever. And I think he actually preaching now. Okay. So Quayshawn Nichols, I would like to know about Southwood basketball team. So I would definitely say Quayshawn Nichols, and then another guy, Lorenzo Robinson.
All right.
I grew up with Lorenzo. He played at Southwood too. Right. I grew up with Lorenzo, and I'm gonna tell you, like, Lorenzo was like one of them players that around the neighborhood, he was always the best basketball player, but he was short. And at Southwood, I just wonder, like, I feel like he was the most talented basketball player I had seen, but he was just short. He was quiet. He didn't get the hype like that. But I just wonder, like, what happened when he was, like, actually playing throughout around. Because I'm going to tell you something, too, as a player like me and like Lorenzo, when you go against all these other players getting all this hype and you better than them, I just wonder, like, how they what he used to do to him, because I know he was balling.
Right.
So I'll say Quayshawn, Lorenzo, even my brother. My brother played at Evangel. They was ranked. They won 3 national championships. So Chester Johnson, I like to hear them talk about their Evangel career. Okay. So I'm gonna say them 3 right there.
All right. Okay, man. Well, no, man, I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate you sharing your story, man. I didn't know half of the stuff, man, you brought up, so, man. It was.
I could have talked all day, bro.
It was definitely enlightening for me, man. But no, I appreciate your time, man, and we'll definitely drop that Universal Citizens link in the bio, man, and everybody check out Renell and the two counterparts, man, as they talk about the pot of gumbo, man. So,
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to the More Than Sports podcast. Please like, subscribe, and set your notifications so you can be up to date on new content. Also, if you have a story you'd like to share, please reach out to us at mystory@morethansportspodcast.com.
And I tell you won't stop, and I won't stop, and I won't stop, and I won't stop, and I won't